Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I want to give you some tips on memorizing easy songs because you don't want to have to carry your songbook with you everywhere you go. There's going to be a time when you're at a party or someone's got a guitar and ask you, hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I want to give you some tips on memorizing easy songs because you don't want to have to carry your songbook with you everywhere you go. There's going to be a time when you're at a party or someone's got a guitar and asks you to play a song and you go, I don't know any songs. I can't remember any of my songs without my songbook. No, that's never going to happen to you because you're going to figure out some songs that are really, really simple that have only got a couple of chords that you can definitely remember. Now, it is really important that you pick songs that you like, so I'm not going to try and go through a whole lot in the lesson, but I will give you some hints of some very popular choices, ones that work really well at parties that are very easy to remember even after a few beers. I'll stick them in the lesson text below, just what the song is and the basic chords there and some tips on how to remember them. But basically, you just want to think about what the chord order is, what the chord progression is, and only pick songs where it's very, very repetitive. Okay, don't go for the songs where there's lots of different kind of patterns in the verses and the choruses because there are plenty of songs that are the same all of the way through, which are a lot easier to remember. And I'm not saying that you should only learn those songs, of course, that would be ridiculous, but you want to have a little collection of those that you can pull out at any time, that you can play from memory, so that if you find yourself at a party with a guitar and somebody wants you to play a song, you've got a few tunes that you can play comfortably and easily and that you can actually remember them and not be having to scroll around on your phone trying to find chords on some website. That's not what you want. You want to get some of them in here. Longer term, you want to get the complicated ones in there as well. But in these early stages, you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. Maybe pick a couple of harder ones, but make sure you've got a repertoire of, I don't know, 4 or 5 songs that are very, very simple to do with, easy to remember.
It's so funny. You can see barely the tips of Luca's ears.
Hey, how you doing? Justin
And
here.
then Nacho! Look at it! Where are you at? Oh, baby! Nacho!
I'd like to talk a little bit about ear training for beginners. Now, some of you might have heard of ear training. Some of you might be completely unaware that it even exists, but you will be aware that we listen to music with our ears. So if we can do things that increase our ears' ability to hear and decipher music, it's going to improve our musicianship, quite considerably in fact. Now, most times beginners don't get involved with ear training, and I included ear training in an earlier version of my beginner's course, and more than half of the people seem to not even get involved with doing it at all. They just skipped over that bit. So this time round I've kept it as a separate thing, and I've made a whole ear training course that can be done by more advanced guitar players as well as complete beginners. So it's kind of like a standalone course. And I start with a thing called interval ear training, which is basically learning to hear the distance between 2 pitches. Now, again, at a very basic beginner level, it's hard to see how this is relevant and how it might help. But you'll have to take my word a little bit that by doing these kind of exercises, your ear gets stronger and you hear music differently. And nearly all of the students I've ever taught this to have reported that after 6 months of this kind of training, they hear music in a different way. So rather than being able to just hear music as a thing, they can hear the parts of the music better because it teaches your ear to focus in on particular elements within music. Interval ear training really helps with singing as well. So if you want to sing and play, ear training is probably the single biggest thing that's going to help you sing in tune and be able to make intervallic steps in your singing. And we do this by learning to recognize different distances between pitches. So if you hear do, do, I know that's the interval of a perfect fourth. If I know the first note was a C, do, do, the second note will be an F. Now, I'm not sure what that first note was because I don't have perfect pitch. So do, actually it was pretty close. I was saying a B, boo, do. I know that where the next note's going to be. And I know that then the interval is called a perfect fourth. And every different interval we relate back to a different song. So that one I was thinking of as the wedding march or the funeral march, depending which way you look at it, or Auld Lang Syne, do 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 do, or do 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 do. It's the same interval. Do 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 do. If you look at a major third, another type of interval, if we start here, do, boo, ba, that's singing up a major third, boo, da, and I know that that's where we play it on guitar, boo, da, 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 oh, when the saints is a song. So each different interval, we kind of tie it to a song. So when we hear a distance between two notes, we go, oh, that sounds like this song, and therefore you can name the interval. As you progress on your guitar journey, you'll find it really helpful for learning songs on your own, to be able to just listen to a song and then be able to find out where those melodies or chords or lines or progressions or whatever are on the guitar. That's not where you're going to start as a beginner. You're going to start on a much more rudimentary level than that. And even this interval ear training, while it'll be very helpful for you for singing, you won't be using it for transcribing, which is learning songs on your own by ear. You won't be doing that for quite some time. But the benefit is deeper than that. It's almost like going to the gym for your ear. And even if it's not directly the thing that you want to be doing, it's going to make your ears stronger and it'll improve your overall musicianship. It's not something that's essential. I know some really fine professional musicians who have never done ear training in their lives and can't name the pitches, and they play amazingly well. Same with music theory. I know musicians that are fantastic musicians that don't understand music theory either. That's much rarer, but it does exist. So that's why these two modules are kind of optional and not directly included in the course anymore. But I would strongly recommend that you give it a little look. It's a lot of fun as well. A lot of people really enjoy it. Some people don't. Some people do. It's like, oh man, I really don't enjoy this. In which case, at the beginner stage, I recommend that you don't do it. Because I don't want you to get put off playing guitar because you felt like you had to do ear training and you really hated it. But I'd recommend that you go over to the ear training part of the site, have a look, have a go at the first few exercises and see if you enjoy it. It's very yes or no, so you learn these to start off with. You learn fourths and fifths, then you listen to a bunch of exercises and you learn to tell the difference between them, and there's little tests. You do the test and you get a score and you can watch yourself improve. So it's going to be quite a motivational kind of a thing as well. Easy to see the progress and therefore kind of inspire you to keep at it. But you don't have to. I'd recommend that you look at it, go and have a try, see if you can stick with it, and if you can't, it's going to be okay. You can come back to it at a later point in your guitar journey and start from the beginning again. It's not going to hinder you too much, but the earlier you start, the better you'll get at it faster. So I hope that's inspired you to go and have a look at the ear training. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I want to talk a little bit about music theory and why I think you should get involved with it as soon as you can. Now, I know music theory is one of those things a lot of people just put off even by the name of it. I think sometimes at school they use it to put children off music, and they teach really stuff that's not practical, and it's not interesting, it's not fun, and it's just, I don't understand why music's still taught like that in some schools. The music theory that I will teach you is fun and practical, and it will enable you to make music faster and better. Sure, there are people like great musicians, Eric Clapton springs to mind, who don't study music theory, don't really understand the harmony, or at least say they don't, but they can still make incredible music. And one of the things of that older generation, they spent a lot more time playing guitar than most people get to these days. So there's this kind of disparity between, if you're practicing half an hour a day, that you're going to have progressed at a very different rate than somebody who practices 8 or 10 hours a day for 20 years or something. And music theory is almost like a little shortcut. It can teach you ways of using skill sets to make music very quickly, particularly when it comes to improvising and making up stuff. In my music theory course, I spent a lot of time on doing things like chord manipulation. So rather than trying to learn like loads of different chord grips as separate entities, you learn one chord grip and how to manipulate it and change it into other chords. And if you understand how the chords are constructed and how you might change one into another, you don't have to memorize so many shapes. When you learn things like chords in a key, when you're working out a song, you can just go, oh, it seems like we're in the key of C here, so the likely chords that I'm going to find in this key are these chords. Like you find one chord and you go, well, the related chords are these ones, and you know which ones to try next. So it can really speed up the process of learning songs, especially if you're doing ear training. The combination of ear training and music theory, very, very strong indeed, stronger than either one individually if you can study both of them. Music theory gives you shortcuts, it gives you musical ideas, it teaches you It explains some of the things why, in grade 2 of the beginner's course, we learn a thing called sus chords, and you can replace major chords and minor chords with sus chords. So if you understand the theory of how that works, it's like, oh, I understand how that works, and it kind of makes practical sense. And that's all of the theory I teach you is practically based. In the very early stages, with where you are right now, just knowing things like the notes and sharps and flats and what sharps and flats do, that kind of thing is really helpful. As soon as you learn a little bit about the major scale and how it's constructed and learning to improvise and stuff, it's amazing, and it's accessible for beginners. Right? It's not just something that more advanced guitar players can do. Beginners can get involved with improvising and making up solos and making up songs and writing songs as soon as you can play. Like if you're at the end of grade 1 and you know your 8 chords and some strumming patterns, you can write a song. Absolutely, you can write a song. In fact, you don't even need any theory rules to learn how to write a song. But again, it can help if you get the idea of these chords are likely to sound good together. It gives you a nice starting point. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to study music theory if you want to play guitar. If you just want to play some songs and have some fun by the campfire, and you've got no aspirations for songwriting or improvising or jamming with other musicians and that kind of thing, then maybe it's not for you. But I think it's a really beautiful thing. If it's taught the right way and you understand the reasons why you're learning each thing, I think it can be a really inspiring and a really fun thing to do. Now, in order to try and coax you into doing that, into getting involved with music theory, I've kept the first 2 grades of my course for free. So grade 1 and grade 2 and a whole chapter on like why music theory is useful and important is all free. I do charge after that because the boy's got to make a living, and I spend a lot of time helping out in the music theory course and answering questions and making new lessons and all that sort of stuff. So do go and check it out. Like I said, it is a paid thing, so I'm kind of selling it to you, but I really honestly believe music theory is an amazing part of the journey, and I'd love you to get involved with it. So please do go and check it out, and hopefully it'll inspire you to continue your journey in understanding as well. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're going to talk